Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hello Dave. We're going to start this week out in Elite Dangerous, where Frontier posted a rather hilarious Gauntlet article that kind of made me laugh quite a bit. Last week, Frontier made some changes to the Thargoid war. They made it easier to push systems that was in alert rather than when they are in invasion. So basically, system goes from alert to invasion to control. Frontier now made it easier to push systems, so it requires less work to counter a system that's only in the alert phase. And they also changed the Thargoid's behavior so they were less likely to go into unpopulated systems, but would try to prioritize populated systems over that. So there's been some changes there. Now, to accommodate this change, they also posted a Gauntlet article from Aegis, where Aegis basically said, we've seen a lot of commanders that likes to fight in the invasion systems, but they should go and they should fight in the alert systems because it adds, it's more help, it's easier, yada yada. Basically, this whole article was like, you guys are playing the game wrong, go into alert systems instead of invasion systems. And when I was reading it, I was just thinking, well, duh, maybe people go into the invasion system because it's fun. You have these Thargoid conflict zones. They're really fun. I like them. I mean, you can make good money. They're good fun, and I'm really enjoying it. And you could often find a lot of other players to play with. I really enjoy the invasion systems if I have to go and do Thargoid combat. I haven't really had the same fun in alert systems. That's why I've just been sticking to it. And I feel like I'm not the only person that has this casual approach. Like, I'm more of a casual murder hobo that likes to genocide Thargoids for fun, and I don't really have this like huge patriotic feeling for saving humanity. So I'll go where I find the most fun or can make the most credits, rather than where maybe it's the place that does the most benefit and where I spend my time most wisely in order to push the Thargoids back. I don't know, I just found the article fun because the way it was worded was just like, you guys are playing the game wrong, now go play it as we intended to. And like, yeah, that's not how it works with players. You can tell them to go do something and they will run in the completely opposite direction. But anyway, changes to Thargoid combat. I'm expecting we're going to see a lot more of these changes and balancing passes, because if Frontier want to drive the narrative that they have with the Thargoid war, they're going to have to keep balancing the Thargoid conflicts to the number of players. Right now, player numbers are declining. Go check that out, any like site that tracks that. Player numbers in Elite are declining. And that means that Frontier, as we've seen now multiple times, is going to make it easier and easier and easier to push the Thargoid systems in order for the bubble not to be overrun by Thargoids. Let's say update 15 comes out here at in actually not too distant future, and that pulls in a lot of new players. Maybe they add something cool, and a lot of people come in, and all of a sudden there's a lot of players, a lot more player engagement, and there's going to be more people that are going to go back and maybe try some Thargoid combat, because chances are that update 15 is going to have some Thargoid content in it, since that's what Frontier's been doing now for like a year and a half or something like that. So that's going to drive more people in. Are we then going to begin to see nerfs to it so they kind of balance out countering the increased number of players? I don't know. I just have a feeling that we're going to continuously see those changes to the Thargoid conflict system in order to balance with the number of players that are actually playing the game. In other Elite news, it's been a while since I've done a Terra-ex update, so I thought I would just do a quick one here, because a quick recap. Terra-ex AstroCorp, is our in-game player minor faction. So I mean, we have a faction in-game, and we work for that faction, try to push it in a certain direction. And you do that by altering and working something called the BGS, the background simulation. That's the simulation behind Elite Dangerous that determines which faction is in control of which system, that owns which stations, stuff like that. And you can influence that as a player, and that's something a lot of people do in order to further their own faction. Over the last couple of years, BGS has changed. If you go back 2 or 3 years, BGS and managing a BGS, a player minor faction, was mainly a technical task. You required a lot of know-how on how this system worked, which is no small feat in itself. And then you need to go and do those tasks in order to further your faction. The people that were best at figuring out how the BGS worked would usually have the biggest benefit. Now, that's still partly true, but BGS has also turned into much more of a political exercise, because more and more player faction has been added and dead ones has not been removed. And that means that it's now becoming increasingly difficult to find a system that doesn't have a player faction in it. And if you are a faction like ours that try to, as much as we possibly can, avoid other player factions, that often means if we want to go to a specific system, want to take that system for us, we would have to find a route, and you would find a route around other player factions, avoiding conflicts, and you would go there and you would take that system as yours. These days, that can be not just difficult, but outright impossible in some situations. And therefore, BGS has turned into this much more political landscape where you would go to other player factions and you would say, hi, we would really like to go in this direction, but that requires us to move through your space. Will you allow us to go through your space? And in many cases, we can negotiate some kind of deal where we or they are allowed into one of our systems, we're allowed into their systems, and maybe we swap systems and maybe we just take over their system briefly so we can do the expansion and then hand the system back. There's a lot of politics that hands, so that's my point. Like, politics is much more of a requirement to run a faction, and then not, right? Because we've gone with a political approach to this and to try and negotiate with other factions to keep furthering our interest. Other factions have taken another approach, where they've gone with a much more aggressive approach. Some factions won't really care for other factions' sovereign territory. Like, they won't care if they move into another player faction's system. They will just go in and try to take whatever they want, regardless of whether it's their system or not. Basically invading other player factions. Just because it seems like that's the easiest thing for them. Unfortunately, we do have such a neighbor. We have a faction called SSL Interstellar, I think. We have been keeping an eye on them for quite a while, and they've been meddling in our systems. They've been attacking our systems, trying to prevent us to expand out of our systems sometimes. And whenever that happened, we've been defending ourselves, and then we kind of just moved on when we were done with that. We would move on back to whatever we were doing before and not really do much about it. This has been the approach we've gone with so far. With the increase in number of player faction and the decrease in number of available systems, we may have to change our tactics. Because if we have a faction that keeps repeatedly meddling in our systems, it's likely we're just going to have to say, well, that is an opportunity for us to go and push into their systems and take some of their space away. If they decide to fire the first shot, well, we might just fire back and not just defend ourselves, but actually counter-offense their attack. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that this is something that we might consider in the future. And we have a lot of resources. We could do this because in Terra-ex, we have a dedicated research team. That means they go out and they test different BGS tactics and different methods. A lot of it we document and make public. Some of it we don't. Because this information that we find is information that gives us a competitive advantage against other factions. So some of it we'll keep to ourselves. So we have some tactics that's been developed in-house that we use and that is super effective in a conflict. And we have that in our toolbox and we can pull that out when we need it. On top of that, we also have a very respectable number of players. So we have the manpower and we have the technology, if you will, to go out and do a counter-offensive if we want to. It's not something I really would like, but it's something that might be necessary. If you are interested in joining or helping our faction, you don't really have to join. We are an open public faction. That means all our orders, all our daily activities is posted publicly on our Discord server, discord.d2a.com. Where everybody can go, can watch our public orders, they can see exactly what we're doing each day, and there's full history back in time, so you can see what we've been doing in the past. We don't keep our activities secret. That's been the way we've done it from the get-go, from day one. We don't want to try to hide it, because then we have to vet every single player, and that's just impossible. So we just post all our orders publicly, and then people can go and they can follow the daily orders if they want to. And if you feel like, hey, that could be fun, get some daily missions in Elite, then you can go to Discord, read the daily orders, you can go and then run missions, or maybe you want to sell some exploration data, you want to help us in the process, then we can tell you where it would be beneficial for us to use to sell it. Maybe you want to go and shoot some NPCs, we can tell you where that would be beneficial for us, or where maybe you want to go and do trade, where would it benefit us if you go trade. All that is posted over there, and you can go and check that out if you want to. And if you feel like doing something completely different and taking a 6-month journey out to Beagle Point and back or whatever, then you go do that. No hard feelings. We don't have any requirements for activities or something. It's an open invitation where people can come, they can work, they can help us if they want to, and if they feel like doing something else, you go do that. That was just a quick update on what's been going on in Terra-ex recently. But I want to move on to another game called SpaceBourne 2 that came out here last week. I already made my first video on it, which you guys really seem to enjoy. It was a very impromptu, like zero pre-researched video where I just went in, camera on, go record, and then just let's see where it goes, basically. Let's see where this video takes me. SpaceBourne 2, quite good game. I really liked it. And when you then guys told me in the comment section after I posted the video that this was a single developer, I was kind of blown away how much a single developer has managed to get out of that game, because that is truly amazing work right there. And one of the reasons why I'm so impressed, I think, is because I get 1 or 2 emails every week from either single developers or tiny indie studios who want me to go and take a look at their game. And in the vast majority of cases, like in 99% of the cases, I don't. Because, to be honest, a lot of it out there is just not very good. It's harsh, I know, but that's the reality. Like 99% of the stuff that people send and want me to review is not good. I don't want to go out and do a critical review of a small one-man studio or indie studio's game. If it was a big game, let's say Starfield comes out, then I would absolutely go, and let's say Starfield comes out and it's a mess and it's full of bugs and it doesn't work and it's just terrible at launch. I'll go out, I'll make my opinion piece, and I will say it's a mess, it's full of bugs, maybe avoid, maybe wait buying it until later. And it's gonna have probably, to be realistic, minimal effect on the game, on the public perception of the game. However, if I go out and make a critical video on a small indie studio or a small one-man studio's game, I might be one of the few and likely one of the biggest channels that covers the game, and that can maybe have a huge impact on the overall public perception of it. I would hate to be the guy that destroys another person's passion project. Because when you have these small studios and one-man projects, it is a passion project. Like, the amount of time and effort they put into it is never going to be paid back with any like hourly rate that's going to make any kind of sense. It is something people do for passion, and I would hate to be the one that goes out and destroys a passion project like that, because maybe it's good in the future. This is a problem I see often, that people comes out with something and they say, oh, we're not done, but I really want to take a look at it now. And it's like, guys, wait. If there's like 2 minutes of content in the game, there's no point in me going out making a video about it, because it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good publicity for you. So that's also a reason why I might not do it, simply because there's just not enough in the game yet. But that's not been the case with SpaceBourne 2. SpaceBourne 2 has been amazing. I spent almost 10 hours over the weekend. Already recorded my second video on it. It's going to be a mining guide. It's going to be out this week, I think in 2 days. Really good game, really been enjoying it, and I'll promise you will see more of this game on my channel in the near future. But going from a game that had a really good launch to something that has had a terrible launch, let's talk about Star Citizen's update 3.18. It's still a buggy mess. It's been out now for a while, and it still has massive issues. A lot of the login issues at the beginning, where you just couldn't log into the game, has been resolved. So that was kind of the first hurdle. But when you are then in the game, like the ASOP terminals where you recall your ships, if they work at all, they are super slow. Selling stuff to vendors. I've had multiple cargoes, like just trying to sell things, and it would just spin and spin and spin, and my cargo would disappear, but the money didn't go in because something happened at the timeout of the transaction or whatever. It's been a bit of a pain. I've been trying now for multiple evenings to go out with the Drake Vulture, the new salvage ship, to try and get some experience in with the salvaging. And often what would happen for me is just I go out and begin to salvage, and then suddenly the salvage lasers just stop working. They'll fire and they will scrape away stuff from the hull that I'm salvaging, but no cargo is actually added. I don't know. It's been a quite rough patch. I've no doubt that CIG is working day and night to get this thing fixed, and that they will get it fixed, and it's going to be stable at some point. But at this point in time, it is a bit of a mess, to the point where I've been playing SpaceBourne 2. Let's put it like that. I think it was a perfect time for SpaceBourne 2 to come out, because everybody who wanted to play the Star Citizen saw the buggy mess. I was like, I'm going to do something else. Come back to the game later when it's a bit more stable. Really hope that CIGs get this thing in order and get the ducks in a row, so we can actually go in and experience all these awesome things, because 3.18 is an amazing patch. We tried it on the PTU server where it worked. It's just not really stable enough that I'm going to enjoy it right now. It has a lot of really awesome stuff in it, and I'm really looking forward to going in and playing with it and showing it to you guys. It's just not yet. Of other updates that's been added to games, Kerbal Space Program 2 had its first major update. It's not like the roadmap incremental upgrades, no new features. This has primarily been a bug fix and a performance optimization patch. And what a patches has been, they had, I think, more than 300 points of things they fixed and optimized on their patch note. A lot of the like critical things that people have had problems with is stuff like decouplers, fuel flow issues, delta V calculations being off, stuff like that. And that's some of the things they're focused on, and there's been a lot of performance optimizations. Nice that they're doing that now, that they're fixing bugs and performances early on, and then new features will come when there's no more bugs and performance issues with the existing stuff. Quick review, Kerbal Space Program 2 is still a little thin, I think. There's a lot of stuff missing. I mean, it is early access, so if you haven't picked it up yet, I would probably wait a bit. If you really want to play Kerbal, go and play Kerbal KSP1. And KSP2 will be pretty good, I think, but it's going to need a bit more time before that's ready for like full-blown like release, if you will. It's still early access. Quick thing on Starfield. Last week there was also, I think it was last week, I wrote it for this week's notes at least. Release day has been updated so that it's now the 6th of September this year. Moved back, originally was planned for the 11th of November last year, and that date was actually significant, the 11th of the 11th, because that was the day Skyrim launched. The OG Skyrim, the first time Skyrim launched, was 11/11, and they were going to use the same date for Starfield. I guess it's a Bethesda thing, I don't know. Now they've gone with September 6th, and well, you can think about why they choose that date then. If you write it down, then maybe it makes sense. Looking forward to it, and definitely something I'll be covering here as well, with the now growing number of games that I want to play. Oh god. Okay, live stream. Live stream will be tomorrow, business as usual, and I will be playing SpaceBourne 2. I've been playing the hell out of that game over the weekend, and as soon as I'm done recording and uploading this Hello Dave, I'm probably gonna go and play more SpaceBourne 2. I think I want to begin looking into exploration. I really got the hang of mining, and I've made a ton of credit mining in SpaceBourne 2. So I'm gonna go and look at exploration. I've just looked a bit of what's available in game, from like hints and clues to what you can go and do, and it looks kind of cool. And it was also one of the things that you guys commented on. There was one of you guys posted a comment that said exploration in the game was mind-blowing. So I think that's the next like career path in the game that I want to go and look at. I know they also have salvage. I want to look at that as well. But I think exploration is going to be the next one. It will likely be in the live stream tomorrow, where we're going to go and play around with that together. So it's going to be, of course, on YouTube, on Twitch at 8 o'clock GMT. Hope I'll see you guys there. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. I'll see you guys in space.